Second episode, Bama.
Yeah, bro. Started introductory, new faces. Second week in a row. Let them know we here consistent.
Of course.
We here, man. We here for a good time, not a long time right now. It's the off season, bro. It's like pulling teeth. But like I said, bro, this is really to get that engine cranking up for the best conference in college football, dog. They didn't have a voice for a minute on the voice of college football. They didn't have.
That don't make no sense. It doesn't make no sense.
And we had to come back and give them a voice, bro. How you doing,
Best conference of college football. No, you're not wrong. I don't know how you're going to be the voice of college football and have the SEC channel not have a crazy voice, because we do talk the loudest around here. But I'm doing good, man. I appreciate you asking. I'm doing a ton of packing. I don't know about you, but I'm a procrastinator when it comes to packing. It's bad.
Nah,
I wait till the last minute. I'm looking right here, and I just see like a half open suitcase. And it's one of those things where I'm going to cold weather and they want layers, and that's going to fill up my suitcase so quickly. And I got an early morning flight, which I don't want to do, bro.
At least you get there, though. I like early morning flights because it's like I'm there, and then I get to enjoy like being there kind of a little bit instead of like getting there and then you got to like go straight to sleep because you got jet lag or whatever. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like you get enough time to enjoy. Where you going? Where you going? If you don't mind me asking, man.
Yeah, man. So doing a big trip to one of the most remote states in the country, Alaska. So I'll be in Alaskan territory. The fun one is going to be the direct flight back to where I live. I'm not going to completely dox myself, but it's going to be a long direct flight on the way back. So going to be watching I'm not ashamed to admit it. I blame my girl for getting me hooked on it, but Love Island's gotten me bad, bro. I don't know if you've been seeing all the news about it. But
I've been up under a rock. I've been seeing some about somebody named Huda or Huda, or however you say his name. I'm like, oh shit! I know he's been the talk of the internet.
Oh, it's a she. It's a she.
Oh wow! See, that's crazy. That's crazy.
They call her the Huda Hurricane, man, and I'm not gonna lie. I've watched plenty of reality television in my life. She's probably on the Mount Rushmore of craziest human beings I've ever watched. But speaking of crazy, we are an SEC channel, but we always like to check in on each other, man. This is one of my favorite.
Chop it up,
one of my favorite parts of the week, and we could talk about the SEC, of course. And so I think, obviously, in the offseason, you got to do your due diligence, right? Obviously, we're going to get creative with topics, but we got to do the basics. You got to hit your layup lines. You got to get through the easy stuff. And so we're going to get things started with what you see on your screen, contender or pretender. Bama, I'm going to give you a team. You got to tell me for the 2025 season, are they a contender or pretender? Do you want to do contender for the college football playoff, or do you want to do a contender for the SEC championship? What's going to be your definitions of a contender versus pretender?
Since we're an SEC show, they keep an SEC championship because, sometimes the SEC championship is like winning the national championship for some teams, or even making it, Auburn, But hey, we're not here to tear teams down in the SEC, even though I can't help it, Auburn. But yeah, man. We could do SEC
champion, SEC,
and then if the team rings enough, I'll be like, yeah, they got a chance for the college football. How about that? They also have a chance for college football playoff.
All right, man. So we're gonna play contender, pretender. Bama, your first team is going to be the South Carolina Gamecocks.
I said it once before. I'll say it again. If Lenore Sellers can throw the ball over 12 times a game, if we can get him to throwing the ball at least 20 times a game, I think they'll be legit contenders. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, if you ain't got to run the ball, if you ain't got to throw the ball that many times, why are you worried about it? In college, though, like we got to think about it. What's the name of the game? It's college. So you can manipulate with a lot of playbooks, a lot of formations. you don't have to always see, can I just out make or out make reads or just muscle on muscle of this team? Like, no, I can use plays and I can use a lot of trickery formations to manipulate the defense, to get the guys that like in favorable coverages. And I just think when you see a quarterback in the NCAA not passing the ball over 15 times a game, it just makes me think that the offensive coordinator is trying to save him from himself a little bit. You know what I mean? Just because of the ways, there's so many ways you can manipulate an offense in college football. Like the fact that 6 guys got to be on the line of scrimmage at all times in the NFL, that eliminates so many formations to where in college that just don't exist. So it's like if Lenore Sellers, if he comes out and he looks like a competent quarterback, I gotta say the contenders. SEC, minimum SEC contenders.
But I'll even say this. You could say if this happens, giving you $20, one world, he ends up passing the ball more than 12 times as an efficient passer and moving up and down the field, or $20 to world B where he isn't able to do that. Which one are you predicting is going to end up happening?
Well, what the NFL doing though, I'll probably say him passing it over because it's a lot more politics. One thing I will say, once the media start, putting that buzz behind you, that train behind you, the media train, you kind of put your offensive coordinator in a tough spot to where it's like, I almost got to play this guy or I ain't gonna say I got to play this guy because obviously they want to play him. But I will say once that media train gets behind you, they almost have to showcase him now. They got to start drawing up plays that he can benefit from a lot. You know what I mean? Like, because same reason they didn't start Todd Simpson when Debo got there. It's just like there was so much media hype behind Jalen Milroe, Nick Saban. That was the last quarterback Nick Saban had before he retired. So it was so much hype behind him, right? He even had the State Farm commercial or whatever commercial he had. Like, it was so much hype behind him to where it's like, even if it's not your guy, this is your guy. Not saying it's the same situation for Lenore Sellers, but what I'm saying is now that he's getting that media backing, because Tegan, we seeing, bro, top 3 quarterback in the SEC, top 5, where top 5 NCAA, top 10, new faces to come. We seen a lot of stuff with Lenore Sellers on it, and for me, it's like, were we watching the same Lenore Sellers now? Dylan on the other side, the defensive end, I can see why, he got everybody raving about him. You know what I mean? Like, that is a freak right there. You know what I mean? South Carolina know how to get them freakish defensive ends. But the Lenore Sellers, just him being the top dude, came out of nowhere to me. But I will say, just by default, so to stay on topic, by default, I'm going to probably lean on the half of him throwing the ball over 20 times now because he now has all of this hype by backing him. So now it's going to be to the part where, hey, bro, you're going to have to let him fall on his faces if he does. Now, if he don't, hey, man, contenders.
Amen. A couple things on that. I think to your point, right, I went back. I did my due diligence, as one does following our show, talking about Lenore Sellers. And I think there's a couple things there. First, if Bama, if you put on the Old Dominion tape, first of all, can you tell me where Old Dominion plays? I'd be genuinely impressed.
Old Dominion. So if I'm not mistaken, it's probably North Carolina, right? No, Connecticut.
I'm gonna double check. I'm genuinely not trying to be a casual here.
Nah,
Virginia, Norfolk, Norfolk, Virginia.
Because if I'm not mistaken, that's where Chip Kelly got his claim to fame, right? Or was that like?
Oh, you may be right. Because I just prepped a video talking about Chip. Yeah, you may be right on that one. I know it's the same color scheme. Mm-hmm. I will say this: if you put on Old Dominion tape, he looks like a deer in the headlights. Lenoris looked really, really rough. It looked like, to what you're talking about, a guy that could not process more than one read. And it was truly jarring to watch. Because I was coming from a perspective of watching him as what could he look like in the NFL. But you did see a switch as they got further in the season. truthfully, Beba, did you know he I believe 17 last year, or no, 18 last year? Like, I think he hadn't even turned 20 yet. And yeah, I don't think he was 17. I want to disregard that. I think he was either 18 or 19, now that my memory serves me. You could see a kid kind of growing in front of our eyes. Now, I do think the hype has gone a little far, because I also just don't believe in South Carolina that much. I think you're asking a lot out of South Carolina, who has done a good job getting those freak athletes. Nick Harbor, great college football 25 and 26 player. You saw he got that 99 speed once again. He is focusing full-time on football, but it's not a proven commodity yet. And outside of him, I don't know if there's another proven commodity. On the defense side of the ball, Dylan Stewart, dog. But they are also losing 2 other NFL defense linemen in there. I begin to wonder, to your point, not just the media hype, but a little bit more on that. Are they going to have to rely on Lenore Sellers to just create so much magic? And that's not something you can really sustain in an SEC schedule, right? It got him some wins, but that's not something you want to fall back on, right?
I agree, man, because this is why I say, Tegan, me and you pretty knowledgeable on high school athletes, dog. Like, he never was on my radar. Like,
he was a diamond in the rough. I think Shane Beamer found a diamond for real. Like,
I like Shane Beamer. It's not that I don't like Shane Beamer, but it's just like, for what he has to do for them to win, be a legit contender for the play. Minus SEC right now, we talk about playoff. For them to be a legit playoff contender, he's going to have to do something that he never was on my radar. You see what I'm saying? Like, we ain't had so many guys on our radar. Dylan Raiola, you know what I mean? Like, now if you was expecting him to do that, like, he was already on the radar, you know what I mean? Like, kid throwing the ball all over the field. So now you insert Dylan Raiola into a situation like this, right? Where he coming from not throwing the ball as many, because he's similar situation. I know it's not them, but I'm just saying to tie it into it. Similar situation, Nebraska not throwing the ball a lot. Now he steps into year 2. Now they're probably going to load up a lot more for him to be that guy for him to make plays in order for him to win games.
Taking the training wheels off.
Exactly. Lenore Sellers is almost like, you know, you telling me, I'm taking the training wheels off, but it's like, bro, I didn't even know, he was in the race. You know what I mean? Like, who's this contestant? You know what I mean? Like, he's gonna take the training wheels off and he's gonna show y'all. And it's like, I'm confused. I never, knew that this guy was supposedly had this. I knew about DJ Lagway. I knew about Arch, Hell, I even knew about Gunnar Stockton, but I'm just being objective right now. Like, I'm legit. Like, I get it. Freak of nature, 6'3", 230 pounds, runs about a 4.5, a unit. I understand. I know how we love them type of athletes. But just honestly, man, I don't know. I really don't know where it's coming from. But based off his dimensions and athletic ability, I'm not mad at it.
Yeah. Well, I don't disagree. I think there's a little bit too much hype with South Carolina, but we can move forward with a team that is also getting a lot more hype. The Florida Gators. Are they a contender or a pretender for the 2025 season?
They put a lot of money in their roster. SEC championship, I'm going to go with them for a contender.
No concerns about that. I mean, we walked through the schedule last time, and I
know the schedule is a dog fight, but what is making me kind of like really think, and are we like not respecting Florida enough, is you saw they got the Kamani McLean up under wraps. Like, it looks like it's clicking for him. He's put on 10 pounds of muscle. Like, you see him in the weight room. It looks like everybody's bought in. Now, granted, DJ Lagway getting a lot of hype too, but in his defense, though, we all knew about DJ Lagway. You know what I mean? Like, just a talented kid from Texas. So it's like, it's another situation. Take the training wheels off. Now, granted, it did look like they tried to take the training wheels off and it didn't look too good. But, I mean, essentially the hype that he has coming out of school is, I think it's just really him learning to ride the bike in the SEC. You know what I mean? It's always going to be a transition. I talk about this on my show, Sundays, 7:30 p.m. EST. But Dante Marsh played Canadian football, played for the Titans, but he brought up a valid point. You got to transition. You got from high school to college, and then from college to the pros. And it's a speed gap that's up in there. And then it's a huge gap from high school to college, because you going in high school, not every kid is going to go to college. Just be honest with you. Then on top of that, not every kid is going to go Power 5. Like, you get D2 guys like me, D3 guys, whatever in high school, just depending on where you grow up. If you grow up in places like Florida, Texas, California, it might be a little bit more condensed. You might have 5 Power 5 guys in your team. But, you know, now you got to make the jump to the SEC, because it's not like he's just going to any conference. He's going to the SEC. And it's not like he's going to the best team in the SEC. He's going to a team that had a lot of good history, had a winning culture, and they're trying to get back to that. You all know, everybody knows the reason why it's hard to rank them as a contender. Are you fully bought in on Florida's roster? Because you could just be honest. They arguably had one of the worst rosters in Florida outside of DJ Uiagalelei, just basically being a terrorist of a quarterback. But for the most part, Florida has one of the lesser roster in Florida. So it's like, if you got the lesser roster in Florida, how do you expect to compete in the SEC when the teams, Miami and Florida State, can't compete in the SEC? How do you expect to compete in the SEC? But what I say, what is going for them, they had a nice little win streak to end the season off. So I'm assuming, I'm looking at it as a snowball. Hopefully they can keep that jump going, you know, going downhill. And I think they could be a legit contender for the SEC. I'm starting by Florida more than South Carolina. I'm going to just be honest.
I don't think that's ridiculous. I think there's more to buy into Florida, even though South Carolina does have the technically easier schedule, because truthfully, I mean, I don't need to reiterate it. I'll just mention the run of at LSU, at Miami, going and playing Texas at home, and then following that up with Texas A&M on the road and Kyle Field. That's a crazy run. And then in just 2 weeks' time, you're going to go play Georgia. And 2 weeks after that, you're going to go play in the Grove against Ole Miss. It's a gauntlet of an SEC schedule. Plus, you play Tennessee, but they have just beaten Tennessee in the Swamp. I believe, do you remember the record on like the streak that they have of beating them? I believe it hasn't happened in like over a decade plus.
Who, Florida?
Florida beating Tennessee in the Swamp specifically. That, because you know how they flip, obviously being one of the big rivalries in the SEC. Whatever it may be, I believe you're looking it up right now. I do agree with you that compared to South Carolina, Florida, I think, a more talented quarterback who has proven a little bit more passing the football in a guy like DJ Lagway. I have proven wide receivers, Trey Wilson, dog. Sturdivant was a UCLA transfer. Watch some of his tape. There's something there, especially with a veteran wide receiver like that, who doesn't have to come in and be the number one guy. I like Jaden Ball, the running back. Like, I have an offensive line that is going to be one of the better offensive line units, not alone in like the SEC, but in the nation, paired with a defense that, Bama, I looked at it, full of guys that not only are seniors, but like seniors who have playing time. You know how big of a difference that is, right? Like,
10 years too, by the way.
10 years. So decade, right? A veteran defense, obviously with upside of like a Cormani McClain, who we all agreed was super, super talented, just a raw prospect who could not get the off the field right. Seems like he's really bought in to what Florida is as a program. There's so much to like about Florida. And truthfully, I think if they had any other schedule not named Oklahoma, I think they're right in the top 4 race of being an SEC title contender. the thing that I battle with is if Florida is who we think they are, the schedule gets a lot less scary, but it's still a gauntlet. I think like 9-3, 10-2, the schedule is that difficult where you're talking about a college football playoff spot. And truthfully, I mean, Texas A&M would have been, I don't know, 3 losses in the SEC title. If it ends up being a very similar year where so many of the top teams, and there's not a definitive elite team in the SEC because it's so deep, I could see Florida being a contender. I'm way more bought into them as a program and as a team in 2025 than I am with South Carolina. And I don't really know if there's an argument for South Carolina. I think it's pretty definitive to be.
Not mad at it.
Yeah. All right. We could do one more team before we move into the title of today's show.
Yeah.
And I'm wrestling with a couple teams because we've agreed up to this point. And I don't like when we agree because we tend to disagree. And I think a good team that I could be really nasty about is the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think I know your answer.
Undefeated.
Oh.
Undefeated.
Remember, we're supposed to be the unbiased podcast here. I don't know if we ever agree to that, but I remember in episode 1, it was like, I'm gonna come objective. I'm not gonna.
I am. I'm being objective, bro, and I'm trying to tell you, dog. Like it's happening.
Let's elevate it then. Let's not just say SEC championship because I do think the SEC championship is in definitely the cards for Alabama. Let's say national title contenders.
Yeah.
Let's elevate contender, pretender for the Alabama Crimson Tide. I know your answer, but I want you to justify your answer before I give you mine because I think we're on the opposite sides of the fence here.
Florida State justified it. What's my boy name?
Thomas Castellanos. He did say something.
He was out there talking about some, they daddy Nick Saban ain't there to save them. It's a different Alabama. Alabama ain't gonna be able to stop him. All of this. And I was like, man, there it is. That is what we needed. We needed teams to come out and disrespect them. Yeah. They needed something to put it, put that chip on them, bro. Like, because I feel like now kids need something to play for. I feel like, especially in the state where sports are right now, everybody want to team up with their friends. I'm happy Castellanos said that. Like, it kind of like let them know, like, dude, this is not a gentleman's game. Like, I don't like y'all. I don't respect y'all. Y'all shouldn't respect me. Like, because a lot of the times, and this is what Nick Saban was good at, but this is what he complained about a lot. When you go to teams like Alabama, you think that the legacy is going to win games for you. And I know people are like, oh, what do you mean by that? No, they got to go out there and play. No, a lot of times you go to these top teams and you think that, oh, we the big bad wolf. You think that these other teams are supposed to lay down. And that's not necessarily always the case. And Nick Saban used to always have to tell these kids, yeah, the 2009 Alabama did win a national championship. But it's 2010. What are y'all going to do? Like, I mean, it's you can't sit there and be like, oh, well, they did this last year, so these teams supposed to still be scared of me this year. Nah, it don't always work like that. You got to make sure that you come in, put your best foot forward every year. And I think Castellanos coming in, saying all of that stuff, that just kind of what Bama was already working. I felt like they already was on a redemption tour for what happened, how the season happened last year. We lost a lot of games we shouldn't have lost. Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, glaring too, of course. Didn't score a touchdown until the third quarter versus Tennessee, but they was a good opponent. They made the playoffs, so whatever, scratch that. So we'll just stick with Vanderbilt, Oklahoma. I feel like they got a real big chip on their shoulders. Just off of those losses that they should have lost. They lost to Michigan twice in 1 year. And then the Michigan they lost to the very last was nothing like the one they lost to before. At least the one they lost to before was a national championship winning team. Will Johnson was fully healthy that year. They had a lot of weapons. Blake Corum, it was no excuse to lose to Michigan without a Donovan, with the hurt Donovan Edwards and a hurt Will Johnson, and basically no QB. Like literally, like bro, they could have just went out there with just a fullback and a running back and play offense that game. Like, and they were still able to beat Alabama. I think Alabama really is out for blood this year because of how they showcased last year. But Castellanos adding fuel to the fire might be what we need to drive this thing all the way home, to really keep our eyes on the prize and be like, hey, we still Alabama. Nick Saban built the culture. Like it's not just, oh, Nick Saban, because we had so many coaches in and out. It has to be the culture, because if you're able to insert new coaches every year and still get same results, it has to be a whole foundation, a whole culture. Now, granted, Debo might do some things different. Yeah, you could probably play music or whatever. You know, we got the entertainers out there. We got the social media influencers out there. Like, yeah, you might have that going on with Coach DeBoer. But, you know, that's not nothing to be like, oh, this is just a totally, completely different program from what it used to be. Nick Saban still has an office there, and he still even helps with recruiting. So it's like, I don't think the culture from what Nick Saban, the environment, what he created is gone. I think that was just a down year for us. Any team that gets a new coach is going to have some sort of down year. It's just going to look new verbiage, new plays, new everything. It's just a lot to get used to. But I think this year 2, he got a few of his recruits up in there. He still has a great roster. No transfer portal discrepancies throughout this past season. Like, I think this is here.
I think first thing, did you see that Saban was out recruiting back on the trail?
Yeah.
He couldn't stay away for that long, man. And he's like one of the biggest value pieces that Alabama can pull, just pulling for Nick Saban. I think a couple things on that. I think you're right. Thomas Castellanos, I don't know if we're going to have a best bets section once the season starts. Bama by whatever the max you can put. That not trying to spoil it or anything. Bama by the max, because that is, you're asking for it. You're just asking for it. I'm sorry, you are coming off of a program that absolutely got clowned last year, bullied around. Everyone wants to blame DJU. Sure, he was not a good quarterback. It's not like the 5-star behind him was playing any better. It's not like the guy behind him was playing any better. The team was bad. Everyone was bad. And now you're going to have a more motivated Alabama team who is also coming off of a disappointed year. To Bama's point, they were already motivated. You added the cherry on top to not just beat you, but embarrass you. Now let's take it back to the original question. Are they a pretender, contender for the national championship? I think they're so close to being a contender. I do. I hear you, Bama. One of the best secondaries and projected secondaries in all of college football. Damani Jackson's still there, correct?
He might be the weak link.
Yeah.
Think about it.
One of the best wide receiver rooms in the entire country, rivaling Ohio State. It's just pick and choose. You're picking between a Porsche or a Corvette. Whichever one you want to pick, I don't care.
Right.
One of the best offensive lines projected. Caden Proctor looks like a freak of nature. Probably one of the best offensive line prospects. Could be a number 1 overall pick if one of the quarterbacks don't end up working out. You know how the NFL goes. The question marks for me is A, what is Ty Simpson, and does he got a second gear? I think he's going to be able to get the ball to his playmakers. I don't deny that. Is there a counter punch with the offense? That's when we bring in a guy like Jam Miller. And the offensive line is going to give you that access. So I understand why you could be higher on that team. But I do have questions about some of the ability. Did they fix the running defense? Because truthfully, that's why Michigan was able to win. If you let Michigan run the ball, they were going to win the football game because they were going to be able to milk the clock out. I do think that there was some inconsistent times. We did project that, or at least I did, that Alabama's offensive line was also going to be good the year before. I thought for a couple years that they were going to be able to run the football. And even last year, they were not able to. So I begin to question, you got to show me. And it's the difference between an elite team and a very good team. So I think Alabama is not a full-blown contender for the national championship because I don't know if they have that second counterpunch when that offense stalls out a couple times. Because you can't just rely on Ryan Williams, Prentice and Ty Simpson to throw for 500 every single time. You got to show me that maybe when he gets sacked for a couple drives, what is that counterpunch to get the offense back going? And that's what's going to make me believe in them. It's just going to kind of have to show me if that makes sense.
He mobile now. A lot of people don't know he mobile.
How mobile are we talking with Ty Simpson? I do think people, could look at this and see he may just be a pocket passer and just be like,
I'll probably put him on the same level as Arch. Like how mobile you think Arch is? Like that's maybe like a step below. I'll put him like a step below Arch. Because I don't think he.
I think Arch is a burner.
Yeah.
I think Arch got some juice.
Yeah, but Ty got some juice too. Like he could. Because like when you compare him to Milroe, of course, it's like
obviously,
he can run though. Like, he can run.
Do you think he run better than like Diego Pavia?
Ooh. How can I explain? He's more like a Tua type runner. Like he can run
pre-hip injury.
Yeah, pre-hip injury. Like because Diego Pavia almost looks to run first. Like he's more of a run first type.
Well, that's because of the offense. They love to do the like modern spread triple option.
Yeah, but I think Ty's gonna he runs when he has to, but like he can do it though. So you can draw up. You can actually draw up plays for him to run too. You can draw wrinkles, shall I say, for him to run too. So because he's like a 4.6 guy.
All right. Hey, I do think if you are right that he can move around a little bit and not just move and like get a couple yards on like a take it down and run, but move in a sense of extending a play and being able to keep his head up and throw. That's a second gear. Like that's a counter punch versus, a stand in the pocket type of guy. I know that DeBoer, especially with Ryan Grubb, a lot of people don't remember this. Pre-Michael Penix's final year, I would say 2 years maybe, when they played Texas, and I remember watching Michael Penix film, they rolled out a lot. They did a lot of dash plays and, snap ball, let's move right. Snap ball, let's move left. Just get the ball moving over those rollouts. I'd be curious to what you are saying, because hey, you're plugged in with Ty Simpson. You've been Ty Simpson FC since day one. Maybe I'm missing a point here that there could be a little bit more juice than I may be not realizing. But we got to move on. We got to talk about the top 5 quarterbacks in the SEC. Got to get it out of the way. We got to set the stage of where are our agendas sitting? Where are we going to be pushing the agendas? We're calling our shots. This is not the season starts tomorrow. Who do you want starting? This is, we're going to get to December. This is what the rankings are going to look like. This is what the top 5 is going to be. We're planting our flag and saying these are going to be the top 5 quarterbacks by the end of the season. Full projections, because that's more fun. You don't want to take out Arch Manning just because you haven't seen him play. You want to be able to stand down and say, hey, I was on the Arch train early.
Absolutely.
So what we're going to do, I'm going to tell you, you let me know who your 5 is. I'll let you know my 5. And we'll move to number 4. You know the drill. So who's your number 5 quarterback in the SEC, Bama?
So for 5, come on, baby. I got to push agendas. I sent to FC, baby. FC. And I could have put him higher, Tegan. I could have put him higher. But I'm being objective. I'm being modest. And I'll put him at 5.
I mean, what's truly stopping you from putting him higher? Is it the guys in front of him, or are you trying to hold yourself back?
I'm trying to hold myself back a little bit, especially for like the 2 out of 4 of them. I'm trying to hold myself back. But
I think a take that you could be trying to say here is he's on the same tier as some of the guys in front of him.
Could be, because this is the thing with Ty Simpson, and this is the thing that I'm not, when people be like, especially when you be like, oh, I don't really know. I mean, it is true. Like, this is like something very new. He was a backup. He was like a third string. Like, he was like a third string for majority of his career. So it was never any, like, you know how like we got the situations with Bryce would come in and relieve Mac Jones. So it's like you got to see a taste of him. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, oh, I can't wait till this new star comes in and he does whatever he needs to do. Or for instance, like we got to see like, Tua, and we got to see Mac Jones. We got to see them sprinkled in like the year before, right? Ty Simpson, and he never was sprinkled in. He got that one game versus South Florida in the rain. Horrible. Every quarterback did bad. And he was like third string net. He played a little bit of garbage time Kentucky, where he actually did pretty good. But I felt like we never really got to fully see him in a relief situation. So I know a lot of people is always going to be like, oh, I just don't know. Can he do this? Can he even just be a competent quarterback? Because I get it. We just haven't seen him, unless you're a weirdo like me and watch practices of Alabama. Like, I watch him in practice, bro. So it's like, I'm seeing it. Like, I'm seeing the reads he's making against 5-star DBs, first string defense. Like, I'm seeing it. And it gives me a lot more comfort when I say having him at his 5. It makes it pretty comfortable. I think he's gonna have a real good year, though. I do.
I mean, if you're watching practice, obviously it's very difficult. I'm not going to give you a generic comp, but almost a play style. And I almost feel like I'm being stereotypical because you told me he's got some movement in his ability to extend plays. Is he more of like a point guard? Is he a deep ball thrower?
You know who he is, bro? And
I don't know who he is. I don't.
A lot of people might not like this though, but like he could be Baker Mayfield.
Oh, you think he's got a little gunslinger into him?
He do. I ain't gonna say he got the attitude of Baker Mayfield, but play style similar in stature, 6'1", a little thicker dude, mobile. He could be Baker Mayfield for sure.
He's got obviously it's tough to say arm like Baker Mayfield, but
Ty Simpson has a hell of an arm.
Oh, I was trying to set you up not to immediately compare him to Baker, but like if you're gonna be nasty,
I'm being nasty, bro. He really got the potential to be Baker, bro. I really believe it. I mean, shit, he also got the potential to be Clint Trickett, but I mean, like, come on, like, what do you want from me?
Here's the thing, though. At the worst case, say you're wrong. Say, the Ty Simpson train doesn't go as planned. It goes off the rails, whatever it may be. You do got Keelan Russell there, who I'm crazy. And Austin Mack is, a lot of people don't realize this. Like, that is Kalen DeBoer's guy. He
was a 5-star.
You're not wrong. So I'll give you mine. And I think you mentioned it over text when we were going back and forth and talking about what topics to do today. At number 5, I got Austin Simmons. The more I read about this kid, the more I go into the Grove. I start sipping the Kool-Aid that Ole Miss is pumping out. I got Lane Kiffin on one side where like he's just going to figure it out with quarterbacks. Like I got the same faith that I have with like a Lincoln Riley. And you start to hear the noise about a guy like Austin Simmons. And at worst, he just has to be a point guard. I mean, I have an immense amount of respect for him. And many people do when he was in that Georgia game. Jackson Dart gets hurt. he comes in for a drive and gets him that touchdown. And you hear the fact that he graduated already with a degree at such a young age. Just such a quick learner is something that I take away from that. And even though I do think it is a little lazy to do the Tua thing, but if that is the comp that people are saying is like pre-injury Tua, the guy that can move around a little bit, obviously you have the lefty kind of point guard style. I think this is a guy that a lot of people may not realize could be better than Jackson Dart. I think he can be, and it's a little bit of sipping the Kool-Aid and believing in the system that is Ole Miss. I just don't know how high he can get. But I think 5, he's going to be one of the best and most efficient guys. He's probably going to break a bunch of advanced analytics, as most Ole Miss quarterbacks do. I don't know if you know this, but like I was doing research about Jackson Dart following the NFL draft, and he's like an outlier on all these advanced metrics because Lane Kiffin puts him in such a good position to succeed. So for me, I just love Austin Simmons. I know you mentioned him over text. What are your thoughts on him?
Not mad at it, dude. If I wasn't Ty Simpson FC, bro, Austin Mack, I had him at 5 or right outside my 5 just for Ty. So multiple reasons, but I really do believe in Ty. Not even just being a fan. Like I genuinely believe in this kid. Like he waited his turn, dude. Like I really believe in that kid. But stay on the topic of Austin Simmons, freakish talent, and in a Lane Kiffin system, quarterback of that athletic ability, I mean, you gotta take some type of stock. You'll be a fool not to. It's almost like seeing like stock on Bing or Google or something, and it's just like, what is this? Like, you know what I mean? Like you think about it, like in 2009, like when Bing first hit the stock. Like, dude, like it's almost like investing in Bitcoin in 2010. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like it could bust. I mean, it could boom, bro. Like Lane Kiffin, athletic, freak of athlete. Simmons played baseball too. He has all the tools to be like one of the best quarterbacks in the country, not even SEC, in the country. If everything goes right, I'm not mad at him at 5.
Honestly, it is one of the takes I've been saying for about, I would say, since the end of last season, as I, turn the page to look at 2025 and listing out the list that you did. I mean, I would be shocked if the Heisman is not an SEC quarterback.
Yeah, sure.
This quarterback conference. Now, obviously, it took a slight hit when Nico left, but I could argue it's still extremely strong and extremely deep, to a point where I do think we're going to have the conversation again this year of just, will the SEC end up just beating itself up? Like, I truthfully feel when you have this many playmakers, I mean, for goodness sake, like, I do think Tennessee, even with a guy I'm blanking on, Joey Aguilar, he's a fine quarterback, but he's going to end up being like number 9 or 10 in the conference, if that. Gunnar Stockton is going to be on that lower half of the list. Like, you have these quarterbacks with pretty good upside that are just going to get pushed down, because I think I'm holding myself back with Austin Simmons. I almost think he could be a top 3 quarterback in the conference. I think he could be even better than that. But we got to move on. Number 4, Bama, who is your number 4 quarterback in the SEC by the end of next season?
I think you might smile. You might like this. I'm a little Marcel Reed.
You're higher on him than me. I love me some Marcel Reed. And I don't want to take the point on it. I want to let you get your answer off. I think he's going to be a very, very good quarterback. I just think he's also, to what we talked about with Lenore Sellers, I think the offense isn't going to have to run through him. He could be a complementary piece to an elite rushing attack, and they're just going to ask him to do enough. And that's what I want from him. Obviously, as a fan for Texas A&M, that they're not going to be demanding that he throws for 350. But it's sounding like you think the opposite, that he could be the guy that they're running the offense through. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, because it's a similar situation to Lenore Sellers. And then when you think about it, them being freshmen, I mean, you're not just finna go out there and just put the whole kitchen sink on a freshman. So it's like, in a sense, you go try to like ease them in. Because if you got to remember, man, it's the SEC. You don't want no 18, 17-year-old falling flat on his face in the SEC, because essentially, like, you could just kill his confidence, and then he just won't be a good football player no more. So I can kind of see why quarterbacks, Lenore Sellers, Marcel Reeds, DJ Lagways, I can see why it looked like 1 week, it looked like, oh, okay, they tried to run the whole offense, you fell flat on your face. And then the next week, it looked like they just, oh, man, they just dialed it all back. You're not even passing the ball a lot. It just looked like you're not, they're not trying to. Nah, but it's not that. It's just you got to think about it from a totality standpoint. They freshmen, they rookies. Like, you don't want to put too much on them too early.
I mean, Marcel wasn't even starting.
Right.
It was Connor and
Connor Weigman, yeah.
And the moment they had to put a lot on him, Florida game, I don't know if you remember, dude comes out in the icy whites bawling. Obviously, that was when Florida, before they hit their win streak. But I even think about the Auburn game. I think people misremember it just because of the bad drop, the 4 overtimes. It's a bad loss. You win the game, you go to the SEC championship. Yeah, all that stuff. He played great. And like at that moment, Texas A&M had lost Le'Veon Moss, their engine of the offense at the time. I may be sipping a little bit more Kool-Aid than I originally thought I was going into this offseason. And maybe you putting him at 4, you may just be early, Bama. Because truthfully, I could see the vision that he ends up being the playmaker. I think I watched a podcast and someone made a really good point, because he has the same frame as a guy like Jaden Daniels. And I'm not saying he's Jaden Daniels, but there was a click with JD that in that LSU offense, they basically just said, you have to let it rip. At some point, we're going to live and die by your decisions, but you making those decisions is what's going to put us in the best position to win football games. And I think Marcel Reed has that type of talent. You see the juice in the open field. The arm talent is there, but you could definitely see the moments where he is processing live in the moment and not anticipating. I think his best moments are when he is layering a football, because a lot of times in the beginning of the games, to your point, talking about the freshman year, the nerves are up, right? Those moments, we forget sometimes these are 18, 19-year-old kids. The juice is up and he is ripping the football because the adrenaline is pumping through his body. But when he got settled in, those were some of the best moments that I think Marcel Reed had last year. So I think you're convincing me a little bit. My number 4 player, and he wasn't mentioned on your list for the top 5 quarterbacks. I need you to lock in on some John Mateer. We talked about Baker Mayfield, the Oklahoma quarterback, the guy from Washington State. We see it time and time again. A transfer quarterback comes in. I will say, after this show, take a moment and go just watch some of his clips throwing the football. Might be one of the most insane, like, I'm talking Phillip Rivers type of.
For sure. Yeah.
800 yards on the ground. I get the reservations. He played in Washington State. It's the Pac-2 right now. I get it. He's got that juice. He's got what you are looking for in some, like, the upside of a true playmaker. Now, truthfully, that could burn you. I mean, Johnny Manziel was absolute highlight reel after highlight reel. But you remember better than anyone else the second time they played Alabama, and when they ever played LSU, Manziel had some bad. When he made a mistake, it was bad. And Mateer, he's got that same thing where when he makes a mistake, it's like, where were you thinking about throwing the football? But he throws it because there's times he makes that play. And it's that arrogance. And I think if he just has another year of development and he's going to have a better situation around him, this is a top 4 quarterback in the SEC.
I'm not mad at it. I like John, but I don't know. A lot of times with the new SEC quarterbacks, I just don't always assume they're going to shred the SEC. Even Joe Burrow had a learning curve, But, I mean, we'll see. But this is why it's like an early top 5. I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, and, as you get more access to watching stuff, maybe, like, truthfully, I think the 2 quarterbacks we're talking about they're all in that tier. I mean, I haven't mentioned Diego Pavia. Nope. I think Jackson Arnold, we're not forgetting that's a 5-star quarterback still there, going with Hugh Freeze. I think there's so many other guys that could still step up and be in that top 5. I want to reiterate that as many times as possible. There's so many good quarterbacks. But I do think this is where the gap starts. I think the number 3 to the number 4, there's a gap in my list. Now, sounds like to you there's not a gap between Ty Simpson and this number 3 quarterback. Who's your number 3 quarterback in the SEC?
It's really interchangeable, man. And the only reason I'm going him at 3, I just think the other 2 have a little bit more upside than him. I know the dreaded thing, even I hate it. Potential. Potential is expecting them to do something we haven't seen them do yet. I know that's crazy.
Good. I apologize about that. I was completely not realizing.
Yeah, sorry, man. That's
on me. That's on me.
Yeah.
I mute just so that there's no background noise, and I was like, that's always so embarrassing. But yeah, go ahead. Talk about upside.
All right, but what I was just saying, Forrest, with the upside of that's why I got this guy at 3, Garrett Nussmeier. The 2 guys I have in front of him, I feel like the upside is just it's because like I said, potential is expecting athletes to do something they haven't done before, and we all fall victim to it. And once y'all hear my 1 and 2 quarterbacks in the SEC, you will see I'm falling victim to potential. Nussmeier, not the attractive pick, but he's everything you wanted in a quarterback. Experience, can make all the throws. And the number 1 thing in the SEC, I got to bring it up again, experience. I mean, a lot of times that rules is the greatest trump card. Been there, done that, got a t-shirt, A lot of people don't realize, Carson Beck's experience, the reason why Georgia looked as good as they did, but that was one of the worst Kirby Smart teams in his tenure. Like, I don't think people understand offensively how bad that team was, Georgia. So
and Carson Beck gets so much of that blame.
So much of the blame for no reason. And like you said, when you go back and rewatch tape, it's like, damn, I was kind of hard on this dude. It's like I was not even hard. I was just unfair. Looking at
the drops, man. The drops.
The drop is bad, dude. It was bad. His receiver play was so bad, bro. Like, and you speaking to somebody, I have to show you. Like, I really can throw the ball with the best. So, like, when it comes to throwing the ball, bro, I look at it through a different lens. You can even ask Tegan this. When they try to break down the Milroe shit, I get so frustrated, bro, because I even tell them Milroe completed a lot of passes that Tegan can make. And I know Tegan don't like throwing the football, but he complete passes that people at home can make, right? Versus, you do get those quarterbacks like Carson Beck that make those NFL level throws. And then on the other half of it, it gets dropped. And then it goes back to, oh, bro, you're not doing your part. And then, once you get you in a whining moments of a football game. So a quarterback like Carson Beck, who's also he can sling it with the best of them. Of course, he's gonna say F it and start throwing it like, hey, bro, y'all need me to win this game. And then guess what? He throws interceptions, and it's like, oh, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. And it's like, bro, that's not fair, bro. I was like, why that bozo didn't catch that beautiful pass that just threw 4 plays ago? My dad was a quarterback and the coach. So how I was taught the game was through the eyes of a quarterback, right? And one thing my dad always say, if the quarterback gets you the ball and it hits your hands, like that's no longer on the quarterback. You know what I mean? You can't blame him. Even if he throws a pick the next play, when you look back on the film, you can look at that play and be like, hey, bro, this ball hit your hands. Why you didn't come up with it? Because that's your number one duty as a receiver is catch the ball at all costs. Whether it's catching it with your chest, catching it with your feet, catching it with your fucking helmet, like the little Giants, catching it in your helmet. Like, I don't care what you have to do. But that receiver play was putrid. To go from Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers to whatever it is that they had last year.
Arian Smith and Trevor Etienne.
My point exactly, bro.
Yeah, I don't, and I know Trevor Etienne's a halfback, so I don't want people to think.
But you see what I'm saying? But literally though, like for it's like receiving though, like you gotta bring him up as one of the more reliable receivers on that team. Like
Oscar Delp, do you remember the hype he had?
Oh,
I mean,
goodness. And then he was the guy without no Brock. And then he seeing him play with Brock, phenomenal. Good double tight end. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But he really didn't even play with Brock because it was Darnell Washington and Brock. Like he'll come in sometimes like fullback out the back. But I get what you say. It looked like, oh, bro, we got the next Brock replacement. Yeah. Boy, I had to go in there and eat a shoe for that one.
I don't disagree. And I think one of the things that to also point out is, you know this best, that's just not how Kirby wants to run a team. He does not want to be quarterback centric. He wants to be running the football with a guy that can extend a little bit with Stetson Bennett. I mean, people forget Bennett was moving around. Bennett could make plays when you needed him most.
Bennett better than both of them quarterbacks. Though. Bennett better than Vic and Stockton.
Of course. Yeah. And I think he vastly gets underrated in these conversations.
Way underrated, bro.
But but those teams were not quarterback centric. They were defensive centric, and they ran the football. Let's get back to the list. Number 3 for me. You mentioned Garrett Nussmeier is your third rated quarterback. I'm gonna have one of your top 2 guys in there. I have Arch Manning at 3. I'm having him at 3 because I think Arch is going to be really, really good. I think he's going to be fantastic. I think there's 2 things that is holding me back from having him around 1. And it's A, there's a guy in Florida who I like better. And B, I think that there's still learning to be had. There's still some growing pains. We saw it when he got thrown into the fire against Georgia. There's just things he's got to learn as a quarterback. You see it through the quarterback's lens. He's got to get into the fire and get burned a little bit. He's got to learn, hey, maybe I don't make that throw. Maybe I throw it away. He has not played consistent football in how many years? It's been in and out and kind of used in a Tebow sense. Go in, I need you to go right and go truck that A&M player and get to the pylon. I still see that highlight in my brain every single day. That's how he was used. Now he's going to go into an offense that I do think is going to be very good about warming him back up, dumping the ball off, just getting the ball out whenever needed. He's going to play fantastic. And he's going to add an element that Texas did not have with a Quinn Ewers in extending plays and being able to move the football. And their rushing attack, I think, is going to be better than ever. But I still think there's going to probably be some growing pains because I think in UL Monroe, he threw a couple picks. Like, I think he's still got to be able to read and drop back and do that. But the raw talent is there. I compare him to Trevor Lawrence in terms of talent and how good he can be. But I also need to kind of see
higher. I got my.
Do you have him like Andrew Luck tier? Damn, this is where you take it and you put it over here and you cross the line. You do a little Dougie on the line and then you walk 20 feet past it.
the more and more, man, I'm slowly starting to become Arch FC, bro. Like that trip to the hood in St. Louis, man, he kind of won me over with that. I'm not gonna lie, bro. He won me over, bro. Like when I saw him, he was on the block with the little kids. He looked happy too, bro. He looked like he was from there. It looked like he was home. He chilling with the drunk uncles. They asked him what he gonna do next year. He kind of won me over, man. Like I'm starting to see the vision of a lot of people with Arch, because the thing with Arch, even in that Georgia game, when they inserted him, like when Ewers had got like beamed up for a little second, he played like 3 plays. But I'm not gonna lie, every time they throw Arch in, it feels like the outcome of the game is gonna go in Texas's favor. Like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just aura. Maybe he's just the ultimate aura farmer, But I just always feels like even when they used him in them Tim Tebow sets, it just felt like this was right. You know what I mean? Like this is the right thing to do.
It's in the story.
yeah. Like it didn't feel like a Tim Tebow package thing. It just felt like you're doing the right thing right now. Just Quinn, just sit right here. We'll make sure you get to the league, okay? But just sit.
You know what they say? You know what they say? They were saying this during the NBA Finals. You're the guy before the dynasty. You're the player before the dynasty. Is that what you're saying? Quinn, you were the guy before the ball started rolling. You were the guy that launched. You got Texas back. You got him back to the playoffs.
He did. He was Russell Westbrook. Phenomenal. Triple-double. You did what you had to do. You made us relevant. You brought us back to relevancy. But your story isn't probably to be the national championship. That's not your story. Like, for instance, like my JUCO, when I was in JUCO, we tied for conference. So we went 7-3. We tied for conference. We lost off a coin flip because all 3 of us. So the team we beat lost to the team. Like we lost to the team. It was weird. We beat Los Madonna. We beat what's the dudes? I can't even remember their name. Anyway, we beat one team but lost to another team, and the team we lost to the team we beat. So that put us all in a 3-way tie, and it boiled down to a coin toss. So we was the co-conference champions, right? They gave us vests, all of that. But the very next year, like, it's just like they went times 10. Like they went 9-1, went to the championship, lost at the very second, and then they rip off 2 championships back to back. That's basically like what Quinn was like us. Like, yeah, we was co-conferences. That's something to brag about because we was 2-8 the year before. So that's something to brag about. But maybe we weren't supposed to be the championship winning guys. Like when you look 2 years down the road, you see they winning back-to-back championships. They got a lot of Division I talent here now. And it's like, the coach pays homage to us like, hey, y'all started this. Like, y'all was the reason we were able to get here 3 years down the road. Like, if y'all didn't come in and do what we did, for instance, if Quinn don't come in and beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa,
you got right to the point I was about to talk about.
That's what it has to happen. You know what I mean? Like it has to happen. Now we bring Texas back. Now they pulling out all the Lamborghinis for recruiting trips. Like this is that was the necessary evil. Now Arch is here to, now we here, bro. We here. We everybody know we got a car in a race. Now you Ricky Bobby, you got to get up in there. You got to Dale Earnhardt this thing. Like you really got to drive, bro. Like Quinn was the person to bring us there. He was the person in the shop fixing on it. Oh, we need a tune up. We need this. You got us to the race. Now with the car Quinn and built Arch, you got to cross that checkered line, man. You got to. But when I see him, I don't know, bro. I just feel like maybe it's just because of his uncles, bro. Maybe I'm gagging on him. I don't know. Like,
I'll say this. It's hard not to think of it like this. Sometimes to kind of put in perspective, and as dumb as this may sound, when we get to the championship level for any sport, I'll be like, let's say for the NBA Finals, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, NBA champion. I don't have any reservations, right? That makes sense. I also think of it like this, I think of if Texas was to win a national championship and there was a documentary built, do you just see the story of like Arch was the next one and they kick it off, and that's when you get to the middle point of the documentary and this is the turning point. This is when they get to that big, infamous run. I think of like the Miami documentaries and like things like that. Like this was the key turn. This was the flip of the switch. So I think maybe because I will say this. I think that might be next year. I think Texas might need that next, step forward. You may be thinking they're taking 2 steps. I may be thinking they're taking 1. Just for the sake of time, let's get to this last 2 quarterbacks for both of us. Your number 2 quarterback in the SEC.
DJ Lagway.
One of them ones.
Based off me having DJ Lagway too, y'all should already know who's won, especially after I just did a backflip for him. But DJ Lagway, reason why I got him at 2, like I said, him and Arch both are all potential. They're potential babies. Like, let's just be honest right now. Call it what it is. They're potential babies. Like, we're expecting them to do something we haven't seen them do. So, like, that's why I got DJ Lagway at 2. I think Arch has a little bit more potential than DJ. It's not racist. It's coming from me. I'm just saying it right now, damn it. I feel like, maybe just a little bit. But I feel like, Texas don't miss with quarterbacks. So you might be right. It might actually be like this. You know what I mean? But I just think Arch, coming from the background he's coming from, 2 uncles. One's one of the greater postseason QBs ever. The other uncle is the greatest regular season quarterback ever. I feel like with those guys in your corner, say, well, you muted. Oh, yeah, it died. Yeah, it died. Not yet. Brother wasn't a running back. Yeah.
You can?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be great quality, but that's all right. We're at the end of the show. I lost my train of thought.
No, I was just talking about DJ Lagway and the potential.
I think so. I got him 2. I have Lagway 2 as well. To your point with the potential piece of it, right? Dude's freaking nature. Just put on the tape, man. My one concern is Lagway. He didn't throw in the spring, and you know what that momentum can do. Is when you're dealing with an injury, starting. That's why I worry about like Joey Aguilar. Like he's moving from UCLA to Tennessee, did not get a spring camp. That's what I worry about. Like if you are a spring transfer at the quarterback position, your life is really difficult. And if you don't throw the football, it's really difficult. I just think he's going to have such a good situation. I think he could be damn near the best quarterback. And I think Arch can too. And just to speed things up just due to technical problems, Nussmeier's my number 1. I think
experience. I'm not mad at it.
if LSU does what they did last year, where they're like, Nuss, we need you to save us. We need you to throw 40 times. That's not what I want from him.
Right.
I want him to learn what a damn check down is. If he learns what a check down in a comfort spot is, the dude's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country, because his ability to layer a football over the middle, intermediate, he throws one of the best crossing routes, which a lot of people don't really understand. Like, Bama, you may get it. There's an art to throwing a beautiful crossing route. And if you can hit that consistently, especially if you're in a spread offense and you're running Y cross and you got the time in the pocket, that could be a touchdown. That could be a 20-yard chunk. And that's all that you need. Right. And he's going to have Barry and Brown. He's going to have the best situation around. Yeah. I'm a big Caden Durham guy too.
That's what I was about to say. When you said learn how to throw a check down, that's instantly who I thought of. I was like, bro, you got Durham right there. Like, that
one, I don't know why he's not getting more hype.
Because he was a freshman. They played him a lot towards the end, but they had Josh, which is my homie. I'm not mad. Josh was the senior. Try to make sure.
I think Josh would tell you that Durham.
Yeah.
Just and this is nothing against Josh. I just think by no means. I think LSU has, for a long time, you could say, been looking for a running back, like a definitive top guy. They've always had those like preseason hype, like this is going to be the guy that steps in since, like, would you say like Lenny? Like, what was the, or no?
What I was saying, Josh worked his way up from the bottom. Josh was like, of course, worked his way up from the bottom. But I get what you mean. Like Lenny was like, he had a full ride to Alabama and LSU 8th grade. You know what I mean? So it's like, they need to get back to those guys. You know what I mean? Like Jeremy Hills, like those highly touted. I know about them. They need to get, and I think Durham is that guy. Fast, strong. Like I Nuts just got to throw them checkdowns, like you said.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing to me is because he'll throw. I mean, man, we've been talking a lot about quarterbacks today, and I think we should do this list for running backs and wide receivers. If you're watching out there or you're watching the clips, let us know what you want to see. Man, I just love a gunslinging quarterback. They're a dying breed. I get it. Like the Mahomes, the check down, getting the ball out to those playmakers. It's efficient football, and there's an art to it as well. But there's something to be said about a quarterback that says, I'm going to throw this because I'm that arrogant and it's going to work. Like that type of football is a dangerous style, but when it's on fire, like when Nuts was on, he was on. But when he's putting the ball in harm's way and has to play hero ball, which I think partially is on him in the decision making, but I think it's also partially on LSU being like, Nuss, we saw it in the Texas A&M game. Like they did not have a rushing attack, so it was like, Nuss, you're going to have to make plays. I don't think that's what's going to be this year with a better defense. But I think we didn't project to hit an hour today, truthfully, in the offseason. We thought we were going to be scraping to get to the 60-minute mark, and we blew it out of the water.
Man.
What are your thoughts?
QBs, man. This is one of the more important positions on the team. If you don't have one, your team ain't worth nothing. Well, where college football is today, once upon a time, you know what I mean? I'm a Bama fan. You used to be able to win national championships on the throwing the ball 6 times. 6 times. 4 for 6. That's what Greg McElroy went in the national championship versus Texas. 4 for 6. Let that soak in for a second. Like, so I mean, but now, where you got the emergence of the RPO, spread option, read option. There's so much to where you gotta have a competent QB. And we probably could have went on for 2 hours talking about these dudes because you looking at
we probably will. We probably will.
Yeah, but these guys here, yeah, for sure.
Bama, hit me with your closing thoughts, man.
My closing thoughts, man. Ty Simpson, like I said, will be the top quarterback of the SEC. He will be king. Alabama will be supreme, and Ron Williams will be the best receiver in college football next year. And I know it is somebody up there in Columbus. I don't care. It's gonna be better than him.
All right, man. Well, if you are new here or if you are sticking around, like the video, it's not just watching it live. I know you guys will go watch through this whenever you got your free time, got your food, doing your work. Leave a like, show some love. We're trying to get this built from the ground up. And also, you best believe we're going to keep getting them recruiting videos out. Bama, I don't know if you know, I've been in the lab with these recruiting videos, getting these out because we got some big time recruits committing here soon. So we will see you guys. We are taking a break next week just due to sorry.
Going to Alaska, man. We're gonna be out of town, bro. We're not gonna make it
man.
work.
I'm gonna be out of town, but the following week we're gonna be all the way back. I say we talk running backs. We keep talking about the SEC. So I will see you guys next time.
See y'all next time.
And it is. And